All right, so when you're dead, you're not really completely gone. From your perspective, you are completely gone, but you know that your story lives on in the things and people you left behind. Obviously, your friends and family, the memories they have of you, the things that you created, your art, your Twitter account, whatever you've done. And of course that includes your bones. So if you're like me, every time you go out into the field, you probably find, 1 to 50 skeletons. And when you do, the next time I want you to think about, you look at this and you say, what can I learn about this? And what can I not learn about this? So I can tell you this is a dog. I can tell you that he had perfectly nice, healthy teeth. And that he was huge, he was like this big. I found him in like a dump, like an illegal dump around 2016. But what that I can't tell you. I don't know what color he was. I don't know how he died. I don't know what his temperament was or anything like that. But there's a lot that you can tell, more than you'd expect. So this actually, at least when the picture was taken, this dog wasn't even dead. So this is a happy story, sort of. This dog had an injury, so the vet put in this implant, but he had a very rare side effect of an osteosarcoma forming at the implant site. So he had to have the whole leg removed, and someone working at the vet preserved it for display. Now, I did talk about this a little bit earlier, how we can get things pretty wrong, and actually the last picture did too. So this person who made this iguanodon, Samuel Goodrick, it's not really completely idiotic. It's completely wrong, but consider how much he had to work with. Only the shaded bones here are the ones that we actually found. Some legs, some vertebrae, some teeth, and a nose spike. But the more information you get in science, the better picture you can get of reality. So here's a much more modern picture of an iguanodon. You can see that it's a little bit more sprightly. The baby's there. You can see the tail is more erect, and also the thumb spike was not a nose spike. It was a thumb spike. Two thumb spikes. Behavior, you might say, that's never going to fossilize, or that's never going to be present in bones. And honestly, most of the time it's not. Most of the time we don't know. But Shannon 1 is a good example of a time when we were able to figure it out. So this was a Neanderthal about 45,000 years ago. And you can see on the left side of his head he had this big injury, and it probably caused some partial blindness. As you probably know, if you injure the left side of your head, it can affect the right side of your body. And so we also know that his right bones were sort of withered and hadn't been working properly. So, okay, normal injury. The weird thing is, according to his teeth, he lived to around 40 years old, which is pretty robust for Neanderthals. And also, some of the injury healed a little bit. So that means that he got the injury and did not die immediately. You can't be sure exactly what that means, but a good guess is that he had a social group that kept him alive. That means that just by looking at bones, you can tell the behavior of this Neanderthal. So perhaps you've heard of the Savo lions. Honestly, I think they probably come up in Odd Salon sort of regularly. They're the man-eaters of Savo, and there's several movies about them and stuff. Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson said that he lost 135 men to these two man-eating lions. The Ugandan railway companies, there was only 28. I guess it's okay to keep constructing the railway as long as your death count is under 30. But of course, he and some hunters went out and killed them. He was very scared of them, so he says, I have a very vivid recollection of one particular night when the brutes seized a man from the railway station and brought him close to my camp to devour. I could plainly hear them crunching on the bones, and the sound of their dreadful purring filled the air and rang in my ears for days afterwards. Very, very scary picture that he painted. So after he killed them, he actually used their pelts as rugs for years, and then sold them to the Field Museum in Chicago. And they had to do a lot of reconstruction to make them actually mountable here. And yes, they are both males and they don't have manes. But there's a lot that you can tell from their bodies because you don't know how much of this is true. All we know is hearsay that people have been saying, that they ate all these people and they crunched on their bones. And but we can look at their bones, and there's 3 different ways we can tell whether or not this is true. One, the isotopes in the bones will actually tell you stuff about the animal's diet. And the isotopes actually said, yeah, they had eaten about 35 different people.
Science!
Yeah. I know, it's pretty complicated though. You have to like consider like how much they ate from each person and what those people's diets were. They're mostly vegetarian. And then if you zoom out a little bit, you can use a microscope on the teeth to find whether there's like micro-wear consistent with the chomping of bones. The answer is no, they did not appear to have chomped anyone's bones. They just ate the meat. Number 3, you can see there's like super damage. Like this one's broken, these ones are missing. So sometimes they go missing as you process them. But and there's this huge infection over here. So tooth pain makes you very angry and probably you want to kill people. And also, we see that a lot of animals that are like man-eaters have some sort of tooth injury. And you know, when you're a lion, you're like, okay, well, I want to go eat a zebra. They have these big, thick necks, and you have to like chomp really hard to suffocate them. But you know, humans were nice and soft. We're sort of easy prey. You know, they might know that like we're not actually that easy because we do have guns and stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, that's they have to take what they can get. So we know that healing in bones shows behavior, and so does damage. Now let's move towards how healed bone can show resilience. This is an example of someone who had shot this deer with an arrow, and he totally survived. And since it injured the bones in his ribs, as they were healing, they healed over the arrow. And this deer did not die from it. He did not die until another better hunter came and shot him. Here's a human femur. Here's a picture at the San Diego Museum of Man. So yeah, this person did not set their bone when it broke and lost like many inches of that leg. Probably could not walk at all because like if your one leg is much shorter. Make sure you set your bones. Okay. Another reason that it's important to look at bones from a forensic perspective is if you are trying to figure out, well, you know, these animals are dying, what are they dying from? A lot of North Atlantic right whales, for instance, get caught in fishing gear, and that is like almost half of the dead North Atlantic right whales have fishing gear on them. This obviously is not a whale, I think it is a seal, and you can see there's fishing gear that it had grown around its head. So it's resilient, but I actually don't know if it died from that, but it's obviously dead now. Now this is a really fun picture. There are a lot of pictures on the internet, and we do live in an age where you can monetize or at least feel good about the attention you get when you have a crazy picture on the internet. And a crazy picture means there's a crazy story. So the caption that goes with this picture is, this coyote was, you know, killed by a deer's antler, and this is what we found. Unfortunately, this is like not at all what happened. First of all, this is not a coyote, it's a dog. And 2, the antler is much older than the dog. And 3, I mean, the angle, antlers are really not that sharp. It's not easy to just like push through all this sorts of tissue that's in there. Someone definitely just staged this, sorry. And so I am a science journalist, and for better or for worse, a way that I get a lot of my information is asking people. So in this case, this farmer gave me these cattle, and I asked her what had happened. And another way that you can check it out is contextually. So of course she said these were from the butcher. And contextually, yes, this is what happens at a butcher. They use a captive bullet, which is kind of like a gun, but the bullet comes back in, doesn't matter. They use it to either kill or stun, depending on the animal. The weird thing is, I found like a lot of cattle skulls. And when they have these holes, a lot of the time, they actually don't like just have one. And if you're good at it, you're just gonna do one. This one has 3, this one has 2. It's important to understand anatomy of bones before you have this type of job. Now it's possible that maybe this was a good butcher and the cow just like moved at the last minute, but that spot is not even close to where this Scottish Highland brain is. This absolutely did not kill her, did not stun her, it just hurt. You gotta know what you're doing before you have this job. So I love deer. Their antlers tell all sorts of stories. Every single one of these I've had, and you know, they died in different seasons. You know, this one had just shed an antler, this one had some sort of injury and it busted. I had a testosterone disorder of some sort. This one's my favorite. Actually, it's a unicorn, and I sold it to Ripley's, so if you're ever in Niagara Falls, the auditorium has it now. And so the theme of the night is undead science, and whether or not you believe in the actual afterlife, it's important to remember that there are things after life. Usually when I show people a skeleton, they'll say, oh my gosh, I wonder how it died. Totally valid question. Death is like really interesting, totally metal, but consider the fact that your skeleton inside you right now is very much alive. Most of what has happened to your skeleton and will is going to be during your lifetime. So remains and carcasses, yes, death is a part of it, but stories in bone are basically stories about life. Thank you.